Right, Wes, let's start this bulletin with some breaking news that's coming in on the broadcast. In connection to the electoral bonds case, the Supreme Court hearing is on in the electoral bonds case. Now, the Supreme Court has asked the SBI to disclose the poll bond numbers as well. In fact, the Supreme Court has said that hand over all the details to the ACI by tomorrow. In fact, the top court had issued notice to the SBI. Remember, this is after the poll bonds were made public, the details were made public. The donors and even those that actually encashed the poll bonds, all of these details have been made public by the ACI. But from what we understand, it is now not possible to match the donors to the people that have encashed it. And again, this will require poll bond numbers. And this is what the Supreme Court has now asked the SBI. They've asked SBI to release all the details, which will further be notified, in fact, released to the public by the Election Commission of India. Right, so these are the details that we are tracking in connection to the electoral bonds case that has now set a firestorm across the nation just ahead of the polls. It's a Supreme Court hearing on the poll bonds case. In fact, the Supreme Court has now asked the SBI to disclose the poll bond numbers as well, additional to the donor details and also the details of the parties that have encashed these electoral bonds. The Supreme Court has asked the SBI to hand over the details to the ACI by tomorrow. In fact, who gave which party how much money may be known by now. In fact, the details provided by the SBI may now include the unique number which is assigned to each of the bonds. Now, this number, if known both for purchasers and recipients, will allow anyone to match donations to the parties. And like we were pointing out there, the details that have been released now include the donors and the parties, but it is not possible to know which donation was given to which party. And now, once these numbers are out, then these will be the matching numbers that will help people, help the public understand the donation which were made to a particular party, and that will make the picture much more clearer. And this is what the Supreme Court has also asked the SBI to release all the details to the Election Commission of India, which in turn will be making it public so that the public can understand the donors that donated the money and to which party it exactly sent the money out for. So very big developments coming in connection to the electoral bonds case. Of course, the electoral bonds now that have been slashed by the Supreme Court, a massive row across the nation. The political parties also indulging in a verbal volley. On one hand, the opposition says that majority of the donors have already been raided by the central agencies, following which, in a way, it was a quid pro quo by the Saffron Party. They were, in fact, making sure that all of these donors went ahead and donated to them, and that is what was linked to the central agency raids as well. And now, on the other hand, the BJP, from what we understand, as far as the data is released so far, the BJP is by far the largest donor with over 6,000 crore encashments in the electoral bond scheme. And on number 2 was TMC with over 1,600 crore and Congress to third with 1,400 crore rupees encashments as far as electoral bonds are concerned. And now it is the Supreme Court that has taken matter into its own hands and is making sure that all the details in connection to the electoral bonds are now out. So this is the Supreme Court hearing that you're seeing right now on the electoral bonds case. This, of course, has rocked the entire nation just ahead of the Lok Sabha polls. The Supreme Court, of course, trying to make sure that there is transparency as far as donors are concerned. It, of course, called the electoral bond scheme unconstitutional and said that public have the right to know which are the companies that are donating to the political parties, and also it will be very important for the public to make a decision based on the donations that are being made to the companies and the political parties as well. And now this is the big development wherein the Supreme Court is now asking the SBI to ensure that all the details related to the electoral bonds, which donor was involved, which party got the money, and also which donor gave money to which party, all of those details are gotten. Right, so we have Sanket Gupta, Supreme Court lawyer, joining us on the phone line. Sanket Gupta, this is of course the Supreme Court now taking matter into its own hand. It is not just satisfied with the list of the donors and the parties, but it also wants the SBI to release the numbers which will help public match the donors to the political parties, which in turn will help them understand which donor donated to which party.
Yeah, today Election Commission has given a petition in the Supreme Court that they have given all the details. The Supreme Court is asking that all the data and all the details regarding the donor and the party which received the funds and the electoral bonds should be given on the website. And let's see what happens at the Supreme Court today.
Right, Mr. Sanket Gupta, that was the Supreme Court lawyer Sanket Gupta there getting us the details of what exactly the Supreme Court is now looking at, because remember viewers, this is a big development as far as the political parties and their donations are concerned, which for the maximum amount of time over the past few years now have really been a big question mark over who was donating how much amount to which party. And now finally the Supreme Court is taking steps to ensure that there is transparency as far as donations to political parties are concerned. Right, shifting track.